Welcome, everybody, to the Business of Speaking show. I am your host, Tim McDonald, and joined today by somebody who I don't think we've ever met in person, but we've definitely been connected online for many years, Kathy Klotz-Guest. How are you?
I am fantastic, Tim. Thank you.
Well, I'm so glad to have you here. And for those that don't know, really what the show is turning into is not what a speaker necessarily talks about on the stage, but their journey on how they got to the stage and what they've learned in their business since that point in time. So I always like by starting, Kathy, tell us your story of how you got involved in speaking.
um, it's interesting because I've been speaking when I was in tech. So I was in tech marketing for many years, and the last like 10 years or so that I was in tech, I was running marketing teams of different sizes. I had run product, I had run product marketing. Then I moved all the way to Marcom marketing communications. And when I left, I was vice president of Marcom, and I was running all of communications for the company, investor relations, media relations, all that stuff, Marcom marketing. And in different capacities in business, they were like, Kathy will present. Let's have Kathy do it. And it was because I had an improv background. And they're like, let's have Kathy do it. She explains it. So I get roped into presenting. I did marketing boot camps for engineers. I did explaining media relations to CTOs and CIOs, and how do you appear on camera and not like a zombie. And so it just started. Over time, I got more and more responsibility. To when I left, I was coaching executives on, how do we talk to media? What are the sound bites, and how do we sound? How do we really crystallize so clearly what we do in layman's terms, so that no matter how exhaustive the technology is, we don't get lost in that, but we're able to find the little nuggets of story. So long before I hit speaking stages and at conferences and things like that, it was through the business world, and then those opportunities would come. Let's have Kathy come to this conference. Let's have Kathy present at this conference, and that's kind of how it started.
So do you remember, I'm always kind of curious that, I mean, because I know obviously you felt comfortable if you were doing, improv,
Yeah,
you got comfortable when you were in the work environment. Was
yeah.
it different the first time you got up on stage in front of people?
The interesting thing is it really wasn't for me. It really wasn't. And I think, so I've been doing improv and stand up in one, form or another, comedy, for almost 25 years. And so for me, business speaking is not that much different. And so I'm really fortunate that I think part of why I felt so at home on a business stage is that that muscle was already being worked. Like, I had been working it, done the miles, done the reps, done this for many, many years. And it just felt natural to me. I mean, I had to adapt for a business audience. A comedy audience is different. However, I think that muscle memory of knowing how to show up, how to command attention, how to have fun when things go wrong, how to improvise, how to make light, how to keep the audience moving with you, how to not be boring, how to have moments of pauses and high impact and blocking, and all these different things were such a part of my I think comedy training anyway. So I felt actually I had a lot to learn about sort of architecting a presentation that's a little bit different for business audiences. However, I think a lot of the things that people have to learn, like how to stand, how to command energy, how to pace, how to stand still and emphasize a big point, things that I had already been doing, just seemed very fluid for me. Yeah.
So I mean, and that's interesting. I'm reminded of advice that a lot of people who are speakers give, which is, competence leads to confidence. And you had that confidence because you've been doing it for so many years.
Yes, and had made a lot of mistakes. where it is forgiving and forgivable in comedy, and part of the fun is seeing somebody on an improv stage go to a crazy place and then recover. Uh-oh, what are they going to do now? And I think that sort of having that muscle of just letting go and being in that moment, being really present in that moment was really a gift. So that training has been really amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you like left working at a company
Mhm.
and really starting your own business,
Yeah.
what was that like? What were your plans? How has that changed, evolved, or is it exactly what you thought it was going to be?
Well, nothing's ever like you think it's going to be. Well, it's interesting because I had been the last couple of years that I had been running marketing. I had this, sort of itching in my soul, like we all do, right? Those of us who leave corporate world, there's this knowing. We know it's like this is not where we should be, and I knew it wasn't where it should be because trained with comedy, I would try to bring in. I was fortunate to bring some of that into the workplace, but not everybody appreciated it. There's a lot of constraints in a business environment. And so I knew at some point I was going to leave. And so when I got pregnant and had my son, I realized, yeah, I don't want to go back. This is the time to do it. This is the time to do it. Of course, at that time, we had the mortgage meltdown. So what better time to start a business than when the economy is melting down? And yet it is. It's counterintuitive. I think it was the exact right time. It wasn't like I thought it would be. It was way harder. And yet, I think one of the beauties about, I think if you have this resilience and you're willing to make the mistakes and learn and not be afraid to try, you'll figure it out. Because it's never like you expect. Is speaking like what I expected? Not really. Not really. And I've had to learn that as much as I love speaking on a stage, there's all the prep work and the logistics and dealing with organizers, conference organizers, and all that stuff behind it that I don't really care for. And so it's part of the learning process. So, no, nothing was like what I planned. I think, though, you start to figure out how to make it work for you, you know?
And is most of your business doing exactly that, like getting up on stage? I mean, even if the stage is in front of the camera today, but is most of it that? And if there's other things, what type of other avenues of revenue do you bring in through your business?
So speaking is most of what I do. And when I say speaking, it's conference speaking, it's also training. So I do a lot of workshops and things like that, which I really love. I love getting down into the details. So I love conference speaking. That's great. I love to have a great time with a big audience. I love being able to, and that's usually a lead gen for me. A lot of times, I'd say, a good chunk of the time it's paid, sometimes not. Sometimes, you're in front of an audience that is your right ideal audience. And so that can be a great lead gen to the workshops, the follow-up things that I sell. I've got a couple of books. Those are part of the lead gen process for me. And so I spend a lot of time with honing the message, lead gen, workshop prep, and making sure that my talk is really constantly evolving as the environment evolves. So if you've got a major keynote or two, which most speakers do, if you do keynote speaking, as you know, I think we're in a different world now, and with COVID and uncertainty, people are looking for messages of resilience and hope and all these different things. So it's adapting the message. I think part of what I had to do and every speaker has had to do, gosh, and you know this so well, we've all had to go, okay, what can I take from what I was doing? And then what new message do I have to offer the market? Because I think we're in this whole new environment. But that's speaking, right? We're always adapting.
But yeah, and I'm really interested because this is the one thing I think that people don't understand, and you brought it up a couple times about all the different hats that you have to wear as a speaker and part of your business. So and the part of like lead gen, I know you mentioned obviously getting up on the stage in front of the right group of people is a great lead gen. What other methods of lead gen do you have in your business?
Sure. So articles, publishing. I have a lot of long form posts that are evergreen for me. So on certain topics that I want to be known for, or what do I speak on? What is my area of expertise? And then creating long form content, just long articles around that. So I'd say publishing, writing is a big part of what I do. Again, I'm trained in sketch and things like that from Second City. So part of what I do is go back to my muscle. And even if I'm writing on a serious topic, injecting a lot of my personality into it. So publishing is important. Videos, I'm doing more videos. The interesting thing is I don't have a problem with video. I mean, I'm speaking all the time. The interesting thing is I've always sort of, prior to, I'd say 2 years ago, most of my lead gen was written form. And it's just starting to change now to be more video driven. And, you know, search engines love video. And if you're good on video and you're natural, and even if you're not, I would say to people, find a way to create short video clips or do, I have a Facebook show called Lead and Laugh. And I've got different leaders in different topic areas. And we just come on and there's a new topic that is so sacrosanct that we can't have some laughs. We talk about white privilege on my show. Twice I've had guests on to talk about white privilege. And we find the humor in it, which is what I do, and be able to break down really, really important conversations. So I would say to people, find what you're good at, what you come across well at. If it's video, and learn to do video if you're not doing it. If you're great at writing and you express yourself well, create long form content that you're going for the long tail search results, because it will always be out there. Those are the kinds of things that I think move the needle over time. If you're lucky, you get a viral thing, but don't worry about that. Don't count on that. Go for finding out what the new pain points are for your audience and what they care about, what the conversations are, and create content around those things.
Nice. And I'm kind of curious, and I know I said at the beginning, I don't talk about what you talk about on the stage, but I'm so fascinated by this because you just brought it up. You know, this whole area of using comedy in very sensitive, you know, timely topics. Can you explain how that works?
Yes, and I would say that I can do it because I've been doing comedy for 25 years. So there's the disclaimer. I have experience. I have failed early on, and you have to know the difference between poking fun at the human things versus making fun of people. And if you're not experienced, I would not go there. It works for me and my personality and who I am in the world and who people know me to be. So it works because I have the experience. So the way that it works is, I believe you can talk about almost anything, maybe not everything, but almost anything. If you do it from a place of willingness to just laugh at our own common humanity. So when we talk about like white privilege, people are like, what says party? I mean, what says talking about a party like white privilege? And yet, here's the thing. There's so much comedy between what people say and what people do. That gap is funny. Think about your own behavior. Think about all the times you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go on a health kick and I'm gonna get healthy. Cut to you sitting eating ding dongs, flipping the channels, and like, you know, maybe doing a leg lift and a crunch and a curl with your soda. We know what we should be doing, and here's what we actually do. And that human gap of behavior is funny because everyone can relate. So the key to, I think, leaning into a tough topic is to do it with love and compassion rather than berate and name call. Name calling is never okay. Don't go after a person, go after a situation. Laugh at a situation. And if you can expose that knowing and doing gap for humans, because we're fallible creatures, all of us, you will find the funny. Truth. That's the truth. Go lean into the truth. Yeah.
I love that. And, you know, as we've looked at, you know, what's been happening the last couple months and how it's changed the industry and business overall. How has that impacted your business and what changes have you made as a result?
Yeah, well, I think like a lot of us, it's like getting pantsed. You don't know what's coming. I mean, truth, right? Like you're standing there talking to a client one day and somebody runs up behind you and just pantses you. Or maybe gives you a wedgie, right? It's like when your older brother's like, if you just come here, I promise it'll be a hug. It won't be a wedgie. And you've known like 30 times before, it's always a wedgie. He's like, I promise, I promise. And then you go over there and it's surprise, it's a wedgie. I think for me, this one felt like getting pants really, because I didn't, it changed so fast. And I think you could probably relate. I was booking keynotes through August, September, October, and then little by little, the phone would ring and things would be canceled. And what I would, I had to switch very quickly, like a lot of speakers have had to online. And the hard thing for me is that most of my business is in person. It always was. Now I do some executive coaching virtually, but when I speak, because of my high energy and improvisational methodology, like I'm using the audience to engage with me, so much of it is in real life, it's in person. So that adaptation of how do I take this and then do it online, it caught me off guard. So the way that I've been sort of repurposing and figuring things out, Tim, really has been little by little. All right, this keynote, what are the elements that now I can't have that in-person energy? How do I adapt that for online? So there's been a little bit of that hurdle. Some of the business has converted, like some of my clients are like, okay, we're not going to do the in-person obviously, but we're going to convert it to a Zoom talk or whatever. And some are like, yeah, we don't know, because everybody's now offering a webinar. Everyone's solution is, well, how about a webinar? And companies are like, nah, I'm good. I got 1,000 webinars that people are offering me. So I've definitely, had some of my business change. Some of it has converted to online. Some of it has not. I'm still waiting to see that later in the year, kind of November, December, will things that I had booked. And I've had a couple of keynotes scheduled for November, December, and now I don't even know if those are going to happen. So it taught me the value of this. Always have an online backup. So understand how you would deliver online. Do know that. I absolutely have that key. And then secondly, have an online offering, because most of what I do is in person. I have my virtual stuff for coaching, but have a course. Take your book and convert it into an online course, so that regardless of what's happening with in-person out there, you can't control it. You've got a backup. You've got something in your back pocket of high value that you can offer. So I would say to speakers right now, if you do not have an online offering, start developing that. Now's the time. Now's the time.
No, very good advice. So as we kind of get close to wrapping up, I'm kind of curious, when you look at where you are today and when you first started this business, what advice would you go back and give yourself that you didn't know back then?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Woo! So many things. One, I would say, niche down really quickly. I didn't do that. I didn't know. When you sort of first get into speaking, at least for me, I knew how to speak. I didn't know how to market the business of what I did, but I knew my stuff. So what I would say is understand the marketing mix for yourself. So for example, if I had identified early on, for example, marketing or, going after HR people, that's my audience, or workplace issues, culture, whatever it is you do, the quicker you can identify the big problem you solve, the easier the flow will be. And for me, coming out of corporate and also having deep comedy experience, I still teach improv. It was like, well, I've been in marketing, but really this could apply to anything, but anything's not a solution. And so I say, narrow down who you're for, because you can always add niches later. Just figure that out. Be very clear. Maybe get some help. Community. So clarification on marketing, and then community. The second thing is community. I think I was slow to find a community. I eventually, joined NSA, then met up with some local NSA folks and started sort of a mastermind. Get in community. Because having other people to bounce ideas off of, or introduce you into places, or make connections, and also just to support you when it's overload and overwhelming, because it is a journey and it can be isolating, especially now, if you're starting now and people are working from home in COVID. you so desperately need a community of people to support you. So I would say clarification and community are the two big things. And then maybe thirdly, again, we talked about it earlier, is getting your marketing, knowing what you want to own and having content around that. So that's the third C I'd say is just getting content around that conversation that you want to be part of in the world.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kathy. But tell people, how can they find you? How can they learn more about you and connect with you?
Yeah, so my gosh, all over the socials, all over. It's at Kathy Klotz-Guest. On Instagram, it's at Klotz-Guest. It's a long story, not worth your time. And you can go to keepingithuman.com. That's my website. I've got my books on there, and all the books I've got 3 different books, are all available through Amazon. And I think one of my early books, which is a smaller book, The Executive Bedtime Guide to Storytelling and Humor, I think they're running a special. It's like 99 cents or something in Amazon right now. So there you go.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Kathy, for joining us. And for everybody watching, we're going to actually stop the YouTube broadcast right now. But if you don't know, Kathy's going to stay on with me, and I get to ask her one additional question that she will answer. And that content is available exclusively to our email subscribers. So if you head over to speaking.business and join our community and sign up, you will be getting a weekly email that will have Kathy's answer to the question. So hopefully we'll see you there.